What's going on, Conscious Crew? Your favorite breakdown commentator, CTV. Welcome to another riveting episode of the Consciouztv platform. You already know what we're here to get into on this Good Friday. I know I've been gone for a minute. Now we back with the jump off, honey. I think it's been 4 days? Baby, okay? We work for 4 days, we rest for 4 days. But we are back. I hope you guys are having a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Friday. It is a beautiful Friday. Life is lifing, blessed and highly favored, baby. I ain't mad about it, and I hope you ain't either. You already know what we're here to get into, but before we do so, please go ahead and thumbs up the video until it's absolutely stuck. Because you guys know we've been sitting for a minute, child. Okay, so we need all that algorithm. We need all the notifications. So make sure that you guys are thumbing up the video as you guys are coming into the sanctuary. Whether you're part of the Replay Gang, whether you're active with me in these streets in real time, or whether you are a Bush baby, smash the hell out of that like button. It's free 99 and it don't cost you not a nothing. But speaking of not costing you a nothing, if you love the king, you want to keep the lights on around her, you can also donate to the platform on Cash App, $Consciouztv, and or PayPal.me/Consciouztv. Consciouztv spelled just how it is here on YouTube with the Z on the end. So run all of that up. Also, please make sure that you have your notification bell set to all so that you never miss a day or hour when the king is in fact kinging. And last but not least, please share the stream out to wherever it is you have digital community, whether that be a YouTube community wall, your Snapchat, your MySpace, the dark side of Twitter, Tumblr, or your personal OF. I don't really give a damn where you in fat lay the link. Just let them whores know that we're loud, we're live, and we are certainly in color. With no further ado, let's go ahead and push on through.
I know a place where you can recharge your soul.
Baby, that's Consciouztv.
And in the midst of brokenness, he gon' see your asshole.
Baby, that's Consciouztv.
You gon' heal, you gon' laugh and catch a little shade.
Ooh, girl.
Y'all know he be slaying, y'all better stop playing. Come hear what he's saying.
Ladies and gentlemen.
All right, let me speak to the conscious crew in the building. What's going on, Medusa? Hey, Mary. Hey, Sherry. What's going on, Corinthia? Hey, Terry. What's going on, Kimani's Way? Hey, Boo. What's going on, Deborah? Hey, Nia 8. Hey, Tiff. What's going on, Nakia? What's going on, Yemaya? Hey, Boo. Hey, Sam. Hey, Chantel. Hey, Queen B. Moore. Hey, Sherry. Grand Rising, everybody. Hey, is it Lise? I don't know why I feel like I'm fucking your name up. Hey, Boo. What's going on, Shay? What's going on, Linda? Hey, Alexis. Hey, Boo. Hey, everybody. Grand Rising. So we got to get into some things. There's a lot going on. We got a lot of news to catch up on, girl. I still got to get into Beyonce and Cowboy Carter. We got to get also into some Lips commentary, girl. I got to get in Patreon. So, you know, I'm on the backup. So it might be one of those Fridays, baby. Okay. So y'all got to keep your notifications notifying. But I wanted to come and talk to you guys about a few things that have come across my desk. Matter of fact, before I get started, can you guys give me a 1 in the chat if you guys can hear me and hear me well? Okay. Hear me and hear me well, Gria. Can you guys hear me well? We don't have no updates on T on top of T yet. We still trying to figure it out. We're not in no rush. We just taking our time. You know, everybody got schedules, everybody got life, and then we just transitioned out of a whole situation. So y'all will see it when y'all see it, okay? We just taking our time figuring out what we want to do. What I'm thinking about, well, hold on, because I ain't even talked to them yet about an idea that I have. But, well, I'm going to go ahead and say it. So before we get into the news today, I've been talking for a long time about wanting to kind of expand Consciouztv social media and make it kind of a network. So what I'm actually thinking about doing, since you know all of the ingredients are proper for it, yay mayor, is maybe like producing the panel, more so being a front runner. Because I'm the kind of person that's like, I don't know. I just don't be wanting to be on the fronts of everything. You know, I don't want to be on the foreground of everything. So what I'm thinking about is bringing it back and seeing if the guys and girls, you know, would be interested in continuing the show. And then maybe we can bring in 2 other panelists or maybe a 3rd panelist for the ensemble. And, you know, it could be a hot topics every Monday, kind of how it was, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, you know, can get into the things, because I would love to be able to produce some segments on my platform. This will really help to kind of lessen the load for me. I really don't like having to do more than what the fuck I am already doing, girl, because it takes a lot just for me doing my own content. So I would love to outsource for some talent and maybe be able to bring a political segment to the platform, like a political show on Wednesdays. You know, have a hot topics panel show that I can produce, have another content creator doing the political stuff, or, you know, find a panelist, a very strong political commentators from all sides, the left, the right, and the middle. And that way I can still have that content going on and still have that type of news playing out on the platform. But once again, you know, I don't have to be the front and center talent for that all. So that's an idea I have. I want to pitch it to Jew and pitch it to Royce to see, you know, how they feel about that. If they down with that, then that'll probably be the next interim of Tea on Top of Tea. Because I'm also like a moody content creator, so I don't really like to be on a schedule. So I like to really do content when I feel like it. Having to be somewhere exactly on a particular day, that's kind of hard for me because I'm not always in the mood, you know, especially I'm not always in the mood in general. So, you know, I like the luxury of just being able to do things when I really feel it and being up here when I want to be up here. So we'll see how that rolls out, child. You know, but I'll keep y'all posted. You know, whatever happens, y'all will see it played out on social media. But let's get into some things right now, girl. It's a lot going on, and I want to talk about it. Y'all know I had to come and tug on Tyrone Blackburn's thick neck. Y'all know how I feel about the Tyrone Blackburns of the legal system, girl. The Gloria Allreds, the Lisa Blooms, the Tony Busbys. Y'all know Tyrone Blackburn is just the black ass version of Tony Busby, girl. Just another raggedy, ambulance chasing, clout chasing, incompetent, raggedy motherfucker. You guys know he is the same attorney that's representing Dwayne Youngblood, who is the accuser in the defamation suit filed by TD Jakes. And he's dropping the ball all up and through that litigation as well. Well, of course, you guys know Tyrone Blackburn was also representing Lil Rod, the producer who filed a lawsuit following Cassie's lawsuit against Diddy. Very heinous allegations, very salacious claims that there were people being murdered in studio bathrooms, claiming that Cuba Gooding Jr. and Diddy were running trains and everything on Lil Rod, and that there was a homoerotic sex tape that Lil Rod claimed to have been shown to him by Diddy, featuring no other than Stevie Damn J, who was a whole clown himself, who is also, you know, an obvious friend and buddy of Diddy, girl. Come to find out, none of those things were in fact true. The incident that Lil Rod put in his lawsuit that took place in the studio where somebody was robbed and unalived and Christian Combs had to beat up somebody and all that kind of shit, girl. The police report proved that this incident never even took place at the studio. It took place like a few blocks away from the studio, but for whatever reason, Lil Rod put a whole separate incident that had nothing to do with these folk in this damn lawsuit just to give it some sensationalism. Come to find out, the screenshot that Lil Rod posted in the lawsuit from this alleged corn featuring Stevie J wasn't even of Stevie J. It was of a male adult entertainer, a well-known queer, same gender-loving adult entertainer girl. The lawsuit just kept falling apart, girl. The lawsuit itself done been amended like 2-3 damn different fucking times, okay? Like, I am actually so disgusted by this lawsuit, girl. Not by its content, but just by sheer audacity of this lawsuit, girl. Really disgust me. Y'all know we cover a lot of court related events and litigations, and this frivolous shit is so insulting because it takes quality, valuable time away from real people who need the courts for real reasons, when you have all these sack chasers and money grabbers and all these attention seekers and all these people looking for their 15 minutes and their $15 just hogging up court resources over straight bullshit. No wonder people can't even get a damn court date for a fender bender until 2037. You know why? Because half of the damn hip hop industry, bitch, got the courthouse in a chokehold right now. So we got some updates on Lil Rod and Diddy's lawsuit, girl, because it continues to hit the damn fan. Let me pull up a visual, girl. Y'all run those likes up, child. Run them up. We need all of that. I know it's early, girl. Some of y'all at the cubicle, baby. Don't get fired, but give me a nasty piece of light, girl. So, this infamous lawsuit, baby, that took some more recent blows, leading Diddy to a small legal victory because Diddy's son has been dismissed from Lil Rod's sexual assault lawsuit along with actor Cuba Gooding Jr. Diddy's son, Justin Combs, has been dismissed from Lil Rod's lawsuit against the Bad Boy Records founder. Actor Cuba Gooding Jr. has also been dismissed from the controversial lawsuit filed by the producer who accused the Oscar winner of actually assaulting him on board Diddy's boat. Lil Rod also claimed that Justin Combs was involved in a SEX trafficking operation and suggested that Diddy or his son were behind an alleged outing that took place at a recording studio. The court dismissed Lil Rod's claims against both the younger Combs and Gooding Jr. after he failed to serve them in time before the deadline passed. The judge ruled that Lil Rod's lawyer, the controversial Tyrone Blackburn, failed to show good cause for the delays in serving the duo and denied his request to serve them through newspaper advertisements. Which means that once again, Tyrone Blackburn wasn't even putting in the work to get Justin nor Cuba Gooding Jr. served. Okay? When people go to petition the courts to serve somebody via billboard, via a pigeon, via Uber, Lyft driver, girl, the courts are not quick to green like that kind of shit. As easy as you would think it is, as convenient as you would think it is, you know, for someone to be able to serve someone via email, via newspaper, the courts are like, no. You're the one taking up a claim against someone. And if you're that pressed and you really need that, show us the severity of your passion behind your litigation, and you do everything within your power first before you run to us to take the easy way to get to another motherfucker. Okay? So Tyrone not showing good cause means that more than likely he wasn't even doing the bare minimum, such as, bitch, at least having the sheriff's office. I mean, baby, the sheriff, you know, will give you 3 rounds. They will serve somebody on your behalf. I think for free in most states, you know, and they'll come out to the house 3 times and make an attempt, girl, and then it's on to the next, okay? Once you exhaust the sheriff's office and they're, you know, free 3 rounds, you can then hire your own personal process server. They typically run about $100, you know, or so a day. So you do got to come out of pocket. you know, but they'll do their fair share, girl, of trying to stake out and do what they do. And then you can also, what's the other one? It's another one. It's another one. It's another one. My God, today. It's another one. It's another. It just slipped my brain, girl. You know, but there's certain protocol you got to follow before you just ask the courts, girl. Can you just make this shit easy for me? The courts don't prefer to make a damn thing easy for nobody. They're already trying to get all the money they can out of your ass because all these systems are tied together. The court system, the police department system, girl, the process server system, girl, they all work in unison, girl. It's a whole capitalistic matrix, baby. Okay? So, baby, they be trying to already soak you for all of the things, other things. So they're going to work you down to the bone. Tyrone Blackburn wasn't even doing the basics, never even got a basic process server on the case, girl, and just did not show the courts, girl, that they were making any legitimate attempts to serve these folk. And of course, didn't give a damn that they were public figures, didn't give a damn that Justin and Cuba Gooding Jr., you know, more than likely would see a very publicized service of this lawsuit. They wanted them to put that work in and did not. Once again, it just furthers the incompetency of Tyrone Blackburn. It goes on to say, though the claims were dismissed, Lil Rod will be allowed to refile them in the future if he opts to do so. Combs and Gooding Jr. are yet to comment on the development. Okay, so more than likely, he will not be circling the block. Last time I heard from Lil Rod, he was living out in Afghanistan, claiming people were after him, and he ain't seen his baby and his wife and his kids in years, and, you know, he's in witness protection and shit, and he don't know what he gonna do for money while he living in the Motel 6 out there in the Congos and things, baby, just going through it. So I highly doubt there's going to be any real movement on this lawsuit, and eventually I do see the courts absolutely dismissing the dog-ish out of this motherfucking shit, bitch. Once again, I'm disgusted by Lil Rod's lawsuit, girl. Like, all of the fallacies, all of the redactions, all of the proven lies in it, girl, it just seconds me, girl. Okay, so in this instance, I'ma have to say, bitch, justice for Diddy, girl, against Lil Rod, baby. Moving along, because speaking of lawsuits and SA and trafficking, girl, y'all favorite albino, blue-eyed, legendary R&B black-ass singer Smokey the damn Robinson and his wife Frances Gladney done found they themselves in a lawsuit of their own by 4 previous employees for hostile work environment, sexual assault, sexual battery, girl, grape, the whole damn 9, girl. And these maids, girl, are going for the big $50 million. Shout out to Chef, which is my street committee member, girl, always keeping me up on the legal documents, providing that legal work, girl. You guys know you can email CTV with all the T at consciouztv@gmail.com. We're going to do a little readathon, okay? I have not read this lawsuit yet. I'll be reading it and seeing it for the first time with you all. And then we're going to be following that up by looking at the press conference held by the attorney who's representing the previous employees against Smokey Robinson and his wife, Frances. I thought Smokey was a bottom. I didn't even know Smokey was straight, girl. I thought Smokey was tooting it and booing it, girl. Why nobody has sent me the memo that Smokey Robinson was a heterosexual, girl? I thought Smokey Robinson was a homosexual. Okay, but apparently, girl, he a little bit too damn straight, if you're asking me. So let's get into these legal docs. Y'all run those likes up. It's a lot going on, y'all. And I don't make the news. I just simply report on it. Okay, I just report on the child. Now, this is a trigger warning. Of course, the content here involves, you know, a very sensitive subject, you guys. All right. So pray, do the Holy Mary, take your communion, or, you know, you might want to bow out if you are triggered by this said particular topic. All right, hold on for 1 second. I'm gonna do a poll too to ask y'all, girl, how y'all feel about these things. What's going on, Uda? On the go, girl. Oh, another segment before we, another church announcement before we get out of the Diddy sector is that you guys have been asking me, am I going to do the Diddy coverage? I am, but we're going to have Uda on the go, my amazing moderator, who's also an amazing content creator, One Community. Also, Uda on the go. Check him out, girl. His ass done ran down there to the courthouse, girl, getting all up in Diddy's damn business, loud, live, and in color. So what I'm going to do is be having Uda on as the Diddy trial plays up. He's going to be reporting loud, live to the Conscious crew, girl, right from the courthouse in New York, giving us the 1-2-1-2 on everything going on Diddy, you guys. That will start next week, okay? You guys know they doing the preliminary stuff right now with the jury selection and all of that, but the trial and the meat and the potatoes, you know, pop off on Monday, guys. So we're going to be hearing straight from Uda, bitch. He going to be literally on the goddamn go, okay? So I'll be bringing that to you guys. And shout out to Uda. Make sure y'all subscribe to him, okay? So let's get into this motherfucking litigation, girl. Jane Doe 1, 2, 3, and 4 against defendants William Robinson, a.k.a. Smokey, and his wife Frances Robinson, also known as Frances Gladney. Plaintiffs Jane Doe 1 through 4 inclusive are individuals in their complaint against defendants William Robinson Jr., a.k.a. Smokey Robinson, and Frances Robinson. And those 1 through 25 inclusive complain and allege the following. Plaintiffs are, and at all relevant times mentioned herein, were individuals residing in the county of Los Angeles within the state of California. Plaintiffs are adult females suing under pseudonyms to protect their privacy because it involves sexual misconduct by defendant Smokey Robinson. Upon information and belief, defendant Smokey Robinson is, and at all relevant times mentioned herein, was an individual doing substantive business in the county of LA within the state of California, employed the plaintiffs and each of them and caused injuries and damages to them in the county of LA, state of California, girl. Okay, so these women who were previous employees of Smokey and his wife all claim that these incidents occurred in the state of California. Defendant William Robinson Jr. is the legendary American R&B and soul singer, songwriter, record producer, and former record executive and renowned entertainer. He was the founder and frontman of the pioneering Motown vocal group, The Miracles, for which he was also chief songwriter and producer. Defendant William Robinson Jr. is best known for his stage name, Smokey Robinson. Defendant Frances Robinson is defendant Smokey Robinson's spouse and was also at all times material herein, plaintiff's employer along with Smokey Robinson. The true names, identities, and capacities of defendants, those 1 to 25 inclusive, are unknown to plaintiffs, who therefore sues these defendants by such fictitious names pursuant of Code of Civil Procedure 474, when the true names and capacities of such fictitiously designated defendants are ascertained. Plaintiffs will amend this complaint to insert their true names, identities, and capacities together with proper charging allegations. Plaintiffs are informed and believe that each of the defendants sued herein as those are responsible in some manner for the events and happenings alleged in this complaint, and thereby legally causing the injuries and damages the plaintiffs as set forth in the complaint. Plaintiffs are informed and believe that each of the defendants herein was at all times relevant hereto the agent, employee, employer, subsidiary, parent company, representative, and co-conspirators of the remaining defendants, and was acting at least in part within the course and scope of such relationship. Now, you guys know, baby, the spouses a lot of times to do, girl. You guys know the whole Epstein situation, girl. You know, R. Kelly's wife, Drea, She was accused of being aware of things and turning a blind eye. And I think even one girl even accused her actually of being a part of a group experience, girl. It's a mess. Now let's get to the factual allegations of Jane Doe 1. You guys know it's 4 Jane Does, okay? Jane Doe 1 realleges and incorporates by reference paragraphs 1 through 10 as though set forth herein in full. Jane Doe 1 began working for defendant as their housekeeper at their Chatsworth residence on January 3rd of 2023. Okay, so this was as of recent, like 2 years ago, until February of 2024, when she was forced to resign due to defendant Smokey Robinson's repeated sexual assaults and sexual harassment against her. The first sexual assault occurred in March of 2023, and it continued until her forced resignation in February of 2024. Jane Doe 1 worked on the weekends for the defendants when the rest of the staff was off. On a typical Saturday, defendant Smokey Robinson would take defendant Francis Robinson to the nail salon and would rush home, knowing that he would be home alone with plaintiff. Upon returning home, defendant Smokey Robinson would call her into his blue bedroom, lock the door, and escort their dog Shiloh out of the room. He will have showered and clothed only in his underwear. He would then neatly place a white towel on his bed, not to soil the bed linens, in preparation for what was about to occur. Defendant Smokey Robinson would then begin to kiss Jane Doe 1 in her mouth, neck, and breast. Then he would roughly penetrate her vagina with his fingers, orally copulate her, and proceed to penetrate her vagina with his erect penis, causing her great pain. Defendant Smokey Robinson enjoyed ejaculating in her vajayjay without using a condom. Jane Doe 1 would protest and resist his sexual assaults, but to no avail. In a desperate attempt to get him to stop his sexual assaults, she would proclaim, quote, "You're married," to which he would casually ignore. Defendant Smokey Robinson actually assaulted Jane Doe 1 in the manner at least 7 times. The last assault occurred on February 17th of 2024, prompting her forced resignation on February 24th of 2024. Jane Doe 1 was unwilling to report defendant Smokey Robinson's unlawful acts to the authorities due to her fear of losing her livelihood. Familiar reprisal, public embarrassment, shame, and humiliation to her family and to her, the possible adverse effect on her immigration status, as well as being threatened and intimidated by defendant Smokey Robinson's well-recognized celebrity status and his influential friends and associates. Defendant Francis Robinson failed to take the appropriate corrective action to prevent defendant Smokey Robinson's deviant misconduct against herself, despite having full knowledge of his prior acts of sexual misconduct, having settled cases with other women that suffered and experienced similar sexual assaults perpetuated by him. So here it is. This attorney is also making it aware that there have been other litigations. I had no idea about other litigations outside of these recent ones regarding Smokey Robinson and settlements and etc. Wow, it's given very much so Shannon Sharp, girl. Defendant Francis Robinson also perpetuated a hostile work environment by regularly screaming at Jane Doe 1 in a hostile manner, using ethnically pejorative words and language. During Jane Doe 1's employment with the defendant, she worked 10-hour days, 3 days per week, Saturday through Monday, at the rate of $18 per hour. They failed to pay minimum wage or pay overtime wages for the hours worked in excess of 8 hours, nor provided rest or lunch breaks. She would often work holidays for the defendants without being paid the holiday rate. Defendant also failed to provide Jane Doe 1 wage statements for the hours worked, girl. So they're claiming, girl, that the wife was over there running a Mexican child labor, a plantation, bitch, being a prejudiced girl. What is given, of course, hypothetically, is that, girl, Miss Francis more than likely knew, girl, what her husband was up to, girl. That if nothing else, he was probably having an affair with the help girl, and Francis was, enduring misguided frustration and anger unto these ladies who she knew her husband was, at the very least, probably flirting with, probably side-eyeing, probably being inappropriate with, and like all mammies, allegedly, she took it out on the woman and stayed with the trifling dog instead. But of course, once again, this is all allegedly, baby. Jane Doe 2. Plaintiff Jane Doe 2 realleges and incorporates by reference paragraphs 1 through 9 as those set forth herein in full. Jane Doe 2 began working for the defendant as a housekeeper at their Chatsworth residence in or about May of 2014 until February 2020, when she was forced to resign due to defendant Smokey Robinson's repeated sexual assaults and sexual harassment against her. Defendant Smokey Robinson's brutal sexual advances were constant and even predictable throughout her employment with defendants. Defendant Smokey Robinson's sexual assaults began in the later part of 2016. When they were home alone, he would text message her, asking her to meet him at areas in their Chatsworth residence where closed circuit cameras weren't located. He would then summon her to either the laundry room or garage where there were no cameras. When arriving, he would immediately grab her and begin to penetrate her for JJ with his fingers, causing her excruciating pain, and then would proceed to grape her. Defendant Smokey Robinson also forced her into his blue bedroom and make her perform oral sex on his erect penis. Therefore, he would proceed to forcibly penetrate her with his erect penis without using a condom. He would enjoy ejaculating all over Jane Doe 2's face, much to his satisfaction and her abject humiliation. Defendant Smokey Robinson actually assaulted her in this manner on at least 23 different occasions. Defendant Smokey Robinson would threaten her that if she refused to have sex with him, he would make defendant Francis Robinson be mean to her, which she was very capable of being. Jane Doe 2 was unwilling to report defendant Smokey Robinson's unlawful actions to the authorities due to her fear of losing her livelihood, familiar reprisal, public embarrassment, shame, humiliation to her family, the possible adverse effect on her immigration status, as well as being threatened and intimidated by defendant Smokey Robinson's well-recognized celebrity status and his influential friends and associates. Defendant Francis Robinson failed to take the appropriate corrective action to prevent defendant Smokey Robinson's deviant misconduct against Jane Doe 2, despite having full knowledge of his prior acts. Oh, wait, I got that wrong when I read that in Jane Doe 1's. These aren't prior. Well, no, I didn't get it wrong. The part that I didn't see or realize I was actually reading was the fact that these accusers are claiming that Francis had full knowledge of what was taking place, that the wife was aware that her husband had committed past sexual crimes, settled cases with other women. But my question is, if the Jane Does are claiming that Francis knew about Smokey's prior misconducts, having settled cases with other women, did they not know this? I'm curious to know what that means and how is anybody else just kind of confused? Because if the wife knew, then they knew. What's going on, Todd? I'm just a little confused. The wife knew about the prior acts of sexual misconduct, having settled cases with other women and experienced similar, but y'all didn't? Public figure. Even though I'd never followed the Smokey Robinson journey throughout his career, so I'm assuming that these things, you know, they bobbed to the surface publicly. They headlined a few times or two. The allegations, the settlements. If the wife knew, then I'm going to assume y'all knew as well. So, is there a witch hunt against the wife by these maids? Have they galvanized together to coangle allegations, girl? You know, to get a payout under this recession, under this Trump administration, baby, which is going to have a lot of frivolous goddamn lawsuits being filed. Okay? I also don't mean to be insensitive, but, you know, the fact that Smokey Robinson is... Where's my phone? Smokey Robinson is how old? Let me see here. Smokey Robinson. Age. And he's being accused of raping women all the way up as near 2023, 2024. He's 85 years old. The likelihood of an 85-year-old man, and they paint the picture, girl, that the man meat was erect. Now, I don't know if he was running down there to the 7-Eleven, girl, getting him some honey packs, or he has some extra help in his damn system. But, I got friends who 33 suffering erectile dysfunction, my love, and everybody keeps talking about this erect penis in this lawsuit. Things are interesting. Let's continue to read, girl. Once again, as far as I'm concerned, these are not victims. These are accusers with an allegation. These allegations don't make them true. That's why we have due process, etc. So, Smokey Robinson is innocent and should be assumed innocent until proven guilty. The lawsuit goes on to say that defendant Francis Robinson also perpetuated a hostile work environment by regularly screaming at Jane Doe 2 in a hostile manner, using ethnically pejorative words. Okay, so it's basically the same. She's pretty much treating all of the help the same way, apparently. Jane Doe 3 began working for defendant as a housekeeper at their Chatsworth residence in or about February 2012 until April of 2024, when she was forced to resign due to defendant Smokey Robinson's repeated sexual assaults and sexual harassment against her. Defendant Smokey Robinson repeatedly actually harassed, assaulted, and raped Jane Doe 3 during most of her entire employment with defendant. Okay, so this was another assault that was enduring all the way up till 2024. Defendant Smokey Robinson will force her into his blue bedroom, where after he would perform his ritual of exiting his bathroom nude or wearing only underwear after showering, and then carefully place a towel on his bed not to soil the linens. He would then disrobe Jane Doe 3 and then orally copulate her. Then he would force her to lie face down on the towel so that he could penetrate her with his erect penis from the rear. Defendant Smokey Robinson repeatedly raped Jane Doe 3 in this manner at least 20 times. So now we have another maid who's claiming that she endured multiple sexual assaults and rapes at the hand of Robinson in this bedroom, this blue bedroom that we've heard now twice of. When not attempting to penetrate her vagina, defendant Smokey Robinson would make unwanted advances against her, touching her breast, vagina, and kissing her on her neck and on her mouth. Defendant resigned her position with defendants on April 22nd of 2024 due to defendant Smokey Robinson's continued sexual assaults in the hostile work environment she experienced daily. Jane Doe 3 was unwilling to report defendant Smokey Robinson's unlawful acts to the authorities due to her losing, the same thing, her immigration status, public embarrassment and shame, etc. as well as being threatened and intimidated by defendant Smokey Robinson's well-recognized celebrity status and his influential friends and associates. Defendant Francis Robinson failed to take the appropriate corrective action to prevent Smokey Robinson's deviant misconduct against Jane Doe 3, despite having full knowledge of his prior acts. So here is where it also gets very lopsided. On one hand, these maids are claiming that they took zero action out of fear of retaliation from him, his friends, having their immigration status compromised, but yet are also expecting the wife to have done something. Wouldn't that contradict all the prior statements then? Y'all either kept this to yourself because you were in fact afraid of retaliation across the board, or that wasn't the case. But you can't have that while also claiming that the wife was informed, the wife knew, and y'all are mad at her for not taking action, but y'all were the one who were being assaulted. Exactly what the fuck was the wife supposed to do other than scream and holler and run out of the house with her wig off, never to be seen again? I don't understand how there was more responsibility on the wife, more so than it was on them, to file accordingly, criminally and civilly against Smokey Robinson, to have quit. I'm so confused how on one hand they're claiming that they took no preventive or safety measures against this, but at the same time the wife somehow knew, and the wife was supposed to act as the feds and act as the authorities and act. You can't have both of those things. Both of those things don't go hand in hand. They don't go hand in hand. Y'all weren't afraid of any of these things. The immigration status, the retaliation, the embarrassment, if you were telling the wife. If the wife knew and y'all expected the wife to do something, while y'all didn't do anything directly, and kept coming to this hostile work environment where you have a mean-spirited first lady of the house, and then you have a man who's sexually violating you. But the wife was supposed to do something. The wife was supposed to intervene more so than these women, these grown women were supposed to intervene themselves in a situation where they were directly in danger. That makes no sense. That is a very low emotional intelligence. That doesn't even read right. It's not even logically grounded. It makes no sense. Of course, she's also claiming that she wasn't properly compensated, etc. Jane Doe 4. Jane Doe 4 began working for defendant as a housekeeper at their Chatsworth residence, including being defendant Francis Robinson's personal assistant, cook, and hairdresser in or about October 2006 up till April of 2024, when she was forced to resign due to defendant Smokey Robinson's repeated sexual assaults and sexual harassment against her. Defendant Smokey Robinson first actually assaulted her in 2007 when she accompanied him in his Las Vegas home. While there and along with him, defendant Smokey Robinson forced her into his bedroom and raped her. The actual assaults continued there and other places. In or about mid-2019, Jane Doe 4 was asked by defendant Smokey Robinson to accompany him to his temporary residence located at Bell Cannon to clean. While cleaning the master bedroom, defendant Smokey Robinson showered and returned to his bedroom naked with an erect penis. He then proceeded to pull back the sheets and carefully place a towel down not to soil the bed linens for what was about to occur. He then began to kiss her breast, neck, and proceeded to orally copulate her and then rape her. Defendant Smokey Robinson would often create a situation or seize the opportunity where he would be alone with Jane Doe 4 at their Chatsworth residence. When the other housekeepers would leave the residence, defendant Smokey Robinson would summon her to his blue bedroom while sitting naked on his bed. He would then lock the door and place a towel down on the bed. After doing so, he would pull Jane Doe 4's clothes off, and against her protestations, push her down on the bed, and proceed to rape her. Defendant Smokey Robinson never used a condom during the actual assaults, ejaculating into Jane Forrest's genitals or withdrawing and ejaculating all over her body, much to his satisfaction and her abject humiliation. Defendant Smokey Robinson would also constantly admire and touch Jane Doe Forrest's breast, kiss her neck, and force his tongue in her mouth. His sexual harassment and assaults continued to the very day she decided to resign her employment with the defendants. Jane Doe Forrest was unwilling to report defendant Smokey Robinson's unlawful acts to the authorities due to her fear of losing her livelihood. Familiar reprisal, public embarrassment, shame, and humiliation to her family, as well as being threatened and intimidated by defendant Smokey Robinson's well-recognized celebrity status and his influential friends and associates. Defendant Francis Robinson failed to take the appropriate corrective action to prevent defendant Robinson's deviant misconduct against Jane Doe Forrest, despite having full knowledge of his prior acts of sexual misconduct, having settled cases with there's something there's something bothersome about these women being so afraid of Smokey Robinson because of what they are accusing him of doing to them. There's some, but to blame the wife for not taking corrective measure in a situation they were in, a situation that was happening directly to them as grown, competent women, is crazy. And then not to also think and consider that if said given things are true and happening and were happening to them, don't you think the wife more than likely was experiencing also the very same behavior? Because most of the time, there's hardly anything that the victims are experiencing that the wife isn't experiencing directly tenfold over. The fact that they literally thought the wife owed them more than they owed themselves to take corrective measure, to take corrective action. The fact that somebody else was supposed to save them at a more expeditious speed than they were to save themselves is very, I just don't understand. And the lawsuit isn't painting a actual nuanced picture around the claims that the wife didn't take action, which means that the wife would have had to be informed. But the lawsuit never tells us that any of these women actually directly informed Francis. So how was Francis to know? Where are the claims and the layout and the scenarios in which these women individually confided in Francis, which I highly doubt they did, if they're also claiming on one hand she was so abusive, she wasn't paying them, she was mean and screaming and calling them pejoratives, etc. But on the other hand, y'all were aware. How was she aware of anything when y'all also claiming that every time he did this, y'all were home alone with him? Y'all are literally in a lawsuit claiming that he would take Francis to the nail salon and then rush back to assault y'all. So she wasn't even around. She wasn't even in the house when none of these things happened. And y'all never tell us when, in fact, y'all confided in her for her to have been aware of this and for her to have had the responsibility of taking corrective action against his abusive behavior, while also claiming that y'all didn't tell anybody because y'all were afraid of retaliation and afraid that ISIS was going to come and scoop y'all the fuck up. You know, it's clicking, but it's, clicking down right now. It's clicking, but clicking down. This is not congruent. It's not coherent. There's like a lot of shit left out, and the shit that's in here don't kind of make sense. So my question is, when and in what scenario and capacity was it clear that the wife knew about these assaults and these grievances? And then, yeah, like, just where and when did that happen? Because once again, they're also alleging that all these things happened in the private spaces of his home. They happened in the garage. They happened in the blue bedroom. They would be alone at his private residence in Vegas. So how was the wife aware? I mean, y'all were the help. So y'all were women who were supposed to be in the house. Y'all were women who were supposed to be alone with her husband. I mean, y'all were help. So why would Frances have put two and two together? Why would she have even thought anything of what was maybe taking place at the house? Are they saying because allegedly there were prior settlements? Well, if there were prior settlements and he had settled and out of court with other women prior to y'all's employment, and there had been other accusations against Smokey throughout his career, the same burden y'all have put on the wife to have kept this in mind and saved y'all, while y'all claiming to not have told nobody due to fear of retaliation, are also the same headlines that should have spooked and nervous y'all ass out of also choosing to be employed by a man who had allegedly settled. Is it just me? Is it just me? Because what I'm doing here, like critically thinking, critically assessing, are all the things that these women are going to have to endure when they're cross-examined. They're going to have to make this all make sense, because that's what the courts require in a litigation. I'm confused. Tiffany says, I have been getting bits and pieces of this lawsuit, and this is why I'm glad CTV goes through these lawsuits for us and breaks it down for us. Yes, God. Chantel says, these celebrity allegations are making less and less sense. Wasn't this like 15 years ago? Well, some of them are ranging from 2012 to 2024. So, some of these incidents are very recent. He has access to a erect penis, at 85 years old. This is very interesting. And I don't find the lawsuit to be particularly detailed and descriptive, which is very concerning. It doesn't explain their connection with the wife and exactly why she was supposed to know. I mean, it's kind of actually weird how they're trying to justify her knowing is based upon prior claims. No, prior claims are prior claims. If the wife actually believed those claims, then we have to assume that she wouldn't even have still been married to Smokey at all. So clearly for her to have remained a wife means that she did not think anything more of those claims than y'all did when y'all heard about those claims and still chose to be maids. It's not enough here. And this is why sometimes I wish that these lawsuits were not publicly available, girl, and that the courts handled these things privately, because, girl, the critical thinking we be having to do, girl, it's yeah. First cause of action, of course, is for negligence. Second cause of action is for sexual battery. Third cause of action is for assault. And fourth cause of action is false imprisonment. Fifth cause of action is intentional infliction of emotional distress. Sixth cause of action is negligence, infliction of emotional distress. Seventh cause of action is gender violence. And the eighth cause of action is the Ralph Act by plaintiffs against the defendant. I'm not sure what the Ralph Act is, let's see here, violate plaintiff's right to be free from threat of violence or intimidation of threat. Plaintiffs are informed and believe that on the basis alleged that defendant Smokey Robinson threatened plaintiffs with violence because they are females. Okay, so this is another gender-based legislation. Ninth cause of action is the Bain Act. Robinson interfered with or attempted to interfere with plaintiffs' clearly established rights under United States and California law, including but not limited to plaintiffs' rights of protection from bodily restraint and harm and personal insult. Okay. 10th cause of action, they're running down, girl. Hostile work environment and sexual harassment. 11th cause of action, constructive discharge in violation of FEHA. 12th cause of action, violation of labor codes. 13th cause of action, violation of labor codes. 14th cause of action, violation of labor codes, inaccurate wage statements, okay, falsifying all type of shit, not paying these women accordingly, not paying them overtime. 15th cause of action, failure to provide rest periods, okay, no lunch breaks, no nothing, girl, literally running a Mexican sweatshop over there. 16th cause of action, failure to provide meal period. Okay, that even, girl, it's giving Diddy. It's giving Bad Boy. It's giving Daddy the Kane tease. My God, today. Not even a lunchable for these women. Jesus. These women are going for general damages determined by proof at trial in the amount no less than $50 million. Special damages in an amount to be determined by proof at trial. For the second cause of action, no less than $50 million. For the third cause of action, no less than $50 million. For the fourth cause of action, no less than $50 million. For the fifth cause of action, no less than $50 million. For the sixth cause, the seventh cause, the eighth cause, ninth cause, girl, through the 16th, girl, $50 million, girl. Okay, these maids want their trillions. I don't know what to say. Smokey Robinson is being accused by Smokey Robinson and his wife have been accused by 4 former employees who all apparently are damn illegal immigrants, girl. They probably have a higher chance of being shipped to El Salvador at this point than probably seeing this lawsuit through, considering the current political climate of the country. I'm going to do a poll and ask you guys what you guys think. I'm curious to know. Do y'all believe the claims against Smokey and his wife? I just put a poll in the chat. We're going to also take a look and listen at the press conference held about these claims. Smokey Robinson also have responded to these allegations. Damn. 90% of y'all do not believe these claims. There's literally a less than 10%, less than 6% of y'all believe it. The majority of y'all are calling cap straight from the bike. Camille says they line and deport all the ass. You know what? Before we get to this press conference, this is what I'm going to say. While this lawsuit looks shaky for all intents and purposes, baby, it's 85-year-old committing rape due to with an erection, multiple women all the time at 85 years old, multiple times, and they are the ones who describe a erect penis, not simply just being groped or molested, but actually fully penetrative assault. We didn't tell nobody, but the wife was supposed to do something about this, even though she's a racist piece of shit. Girl, that it's so much that just don't make no damn sense about this. There's just a lot of inconsistencies. It's actually rather vague on top of that. But what I will say is that, because a lot of people are like shook that a lot of our Black male legends continue to have to deal with these type of claims, etc. On one hand, it's not surprising that men are being accused of rape because, I mean, patriarchy and society kind of have, did a number on men in terms of how men generally see women, which is why most women will experience a sexual assault, by the time they are 18, and, will be double that by the time they're 30. There is an issue with autonomy and deviancy when it comes to this dynamic between men and women in the society. Also, Smokey Robinson is from a particular age, and he's a man of a particular age. I don't know how an 85-year-old man would be capable of this level of consistent assault with a erect penis. It's not impossible, but very much, unlikely. Not impossible, but also men of a particular generation, they had even less respect for women. Patriarchy was a lot thicker during these men's heyday in the world, where gender roles were very much so a lot stronger. Women were seemingly, playing the traditional feminine submissive role. Women were commodity to men. And these ideas of like consent and all of that were not as these conversations were not at the level that they are now then. So on one hand, there's definitely room for these claims. Could these be embellishments? Could there be smoke where there's fire, but they're just putting, an extra something on it? That could be possible. There could have been sexual violations. Maybe there's also a exaggeration and a embellishment, because I mean, this is a lawsuit, and this is what you have to do in lawsuits. You gotta really, pack it on thick, because you're going for a win. So lawsuits in and of themselves set both the plaintiff and defendants up to be competitors and to be athletes, because people have reputations that they have to protect. People have money that they have to protect. So it's a competitive thing. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what comes out of this. Smokey Robinson has responded to the allegations and called them absurd and preposterous, basically, shocked and ridiculous. And you guys can take that for what it is. And now we're going to listen to the press conference. And this is courtesy of the Fox 11 Los Angeles channel on YouTube. Let me share my screen, actually. Actually, let me take off my surround sound real quick and play this straight through the computer. Hold on, y'all. Y'all thumbs up, thumbs up. Oh, we need all that, honey. I've been going for a minute, honey. Now I'm back with the jump off. So we need all the likes to get into the algorithm, to get the notifications back flowing. So please give me a like on the video, you guys. Oh, it's so old school ass attorney here, baby. It's light skin for light skin.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming here today. My name is John Harris, and this is my partner, Herbert Hayden, with the firm of Harris and Hayden. 3 of our 4 clients are present here today. They've been identified as Jane Does. There's one appearing remotely, who you can probably see on the screen. Also is Miss Guzman, who's interpreting for us today. This is to announce that earlier today in Los Angeles Superior Court, we filed a complaint against William Smokey Robinson Jr. and his spouse, Frances Robinson. The principal causes of action against Mr. Robinson in particular are sexual battery, assault, false imprisonment, gender violence, and creating a hostile work environment. Obviously, these ladies are identified in the lawsuit as Does, Jane Does 1 through 4, to protect their privacy, since the lawsuit involves sexual misconduct of the worst sort. We're seeking damages of $50 million. Obviously, no amount of money can compensate these women for what Mr. Robinson subjected them to. But given the gravity of Mr. Robinson's despicable and reprehensible misconduct that is further detailed in the complaint, this amount is clearly warranted. Our 4 clients have a common thread. They're Hispanic women who were employed as housekeepers by the Robinsons, earning below minimum wage. As low-wage workers in vulnerable positions, they lack the resources and options necessary to protect themselves from sexual assaults throughout their tenure as employees for the Robinsons. Let me briefly summarize each of their individual claims. I will not describe the details of.
So gender-based violence, Medusa, is when a crime is believed to have happened specifically due to a person's gender, like a crime that specifically targets, a female or a male, that the gender played a predominant and prevailing role in why the person was targeted to begin with. It's because of a particular trait, such as their gender. So just being woman or just being male, kind of like the same way that hate crimes are defined, like a hate crime against the LGBT person would have a identifying marker, and a crime labeled a hate crime against the LGBT persons would have to be because they are in fact, LGBT, that would allow it to fall within the ranks of said hate crime, or, a hate crime fueled by racism, have its stipulations. Race would be a predominant factor. So in these gender-based legislations that have been created to hopefully protect women, etc., to identify particular crimes committed against women specifically, yes, they are defining what took place here having to largely do because they were women. So that means that the belief is if there were male butlers and caregivers, this would not have taken place. This sexual assault was particular to the fact that they were women, which is what made them susceptible to this particular form of violence.
Sexual assaults and rapes because they're too graphic and disturbing for this news conference. But you can read them in the complaints that we have provided with many of you today. Let's talk about Jane Doe number 1. She worked for the Robinsons for a little over a year, from January 2023 to February 24. Mr. Robinson first sexually assaulted and raped her in March of 23, as detailed in the complaint. What he would do was summon her to his blue bedroom, which you'll probably be hearing about later on. After having just showered, he would come out of the adjoining bathroom naked and proceed to force her to have sex with him against her will. He sexually assaulted and raped her in this manner 7 times. She quit in February 2024 because she could no longer endure these sexual assaults. Jane Doe number 2. She worked for the Robinsons from May 2014 to February 2020. Smokey Robinson's modus operandi was somewhat different with her. He would ask her to meet him in areas in the home where there were no cameras. There were 2 such places or areas in their Chatsworth home, the garage and the laundry room. When she would meet him at this location, he would immediately begin to sexually assault and rape her, causing her excruciating pain. He sexually assaulted and raped her in this manner 23 times. She was forced to resign because she, too, could no longer endure Mr. Robinson's sexual assaults. Jane Doe number 3. She worked for the Robinsons as a housekeeper from February 2012 to April 2024. Her story is quite similar to the others. Mr. Robinson would call her into his blue bedroom where he would sexually assault and rape her. This occurred approximately 20 times. And like the others,
so we've already read the lawsuit, so we don't have to really listen to him reading it. So let's get to the next speaker here.
The filing of this lawsuit is the first step of their journey to achieve that objective. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Herbert Hagen. I just want to echo some of the sentiments that you just heard from my partner, John Harris. We want to applaud our clients, these 4 women, for the courage that they've demonstrated since they've retained us as their attorneys to bring them justice, to bring to light what they have endured for countless years until they decided that they'd had enough and left the employment of the Robinsons. So with that being said, at this point in time, I'd like to take your questions regarding the case. We'll go right here with the...
What brought these women together? Did they share their story?
Well, damn, bitch. Girl. Girl, now, baby, this is what you call witness protection gear, girl. Okay? Got on clear costume, baby. I ain't even mad about it, honey. Is this one of the Jane Does, baby? Because, baby, she is doing. Doe is doing, girl. Girl, if airplane mode was a person, girl, right? If incognito was a person, girl, the dough is doing, girl. Wow.
Because it sounds like some of the employment overlapped. Did they know what was going on with each of them, and did that then cause them to say, "Wait a minute, this isn't just happening to me"?
Girl, like this is that catch that nigga in the act outfit.
I don't want to get too much into the particulars of the initiation of the lawsuit. Obviously, the women all worked together. Some of their shifts did overlap, and there was a common thread between them that led to the filing of the lawsuit today. For any further questions, I direct you to our email address, press@harrishayden.com.
Can you talk about Frances Robinson's role in the alleged misconduct, what she did and what she is accused of?
Well, I think that the complaint speaks for it in great detail. We believe she was aware of the misconduct by her husband, Smokey Robinson, and that she used their status as well as our clients' reliance on their living wage in order to keep them in check. And so we believe that, among other things, is what brings Ms. Robinson into the case.
Do you expect that they will be filing charges will they file complaints with the police as well so that they can investigate this as a criminal matter?
We have not been contacted by the district attorney's office yet. Obviously, we're more than happy to cooperate as best we can.
Does a police report have to be filed by the women in order for the DA to then proceed?
Well, again, no police reports have been filed by our clients as of yet, given their fear of having done so.
But where do you stand on that? Do you want your clients to file a police report now that they've retained you as their lawyer?
Baby, the journalists are journaling, girl. The journalists are trying to make it. They're trying to make it make sense. So it's going to be interesting to hear how he answers this.
I think that's something that we need to discuss with our clients before we cross that path.
Because based on the disturbing allegations, don't you feel like this is something that law enforcement should investigate?
Well, I do think so. Yes, I do.
Are you able to identify data 1, 2, 3, or 4? Obviously not their names, but just who is who?
We're not inclined to identify them as such and help in that regard. We want to maintain their privacy. And for that reason, we don't want to say who's 1, 2, and 3, and 4. You guys are good at what you do, and it wouldn't take long to figure it out.
Our purpose is to identify.
Okay, understood. But we're going to keep them anonymous as possible to ensure their privacy.
Meeting their status being used against them, are the women undocumented, and were they specifically threatened with their legal status?
So that is not an allegation that we're making. We believe that the fact that these women are Hispanic, they come from cultures that sort of demonize the accusers of rape and sexual assault.
So I'm going to pull up another video that's going to kind of talk about why a lot of times accusers and or victims will lean more so toward the civil than the criminal.
Stigma was used against them by the Robinson. And obviously, the employer-employee relationship had a big factor in that as well.
But you won't comment on their immigration status?
Not at this time, no.
I do have a specific follow-up to that question. So in the complaint specifically, it says that one Jane Doe feared obviously losing their livelihood, familial reprisal, to also include a possible adverse effect on their immigration status. So you just said that you weren't claiming that. Can you clarify that?
Well, I think what we mean by that is that obviously within the Hispanic community, particularly in this climate, there is a fear of reprisal based upon any insinuation that there is an immigration issue. So I think that speaks for itself in their hesitancy in making that an issue in this case.
To come forward?
Correct.
Have you been able to obtain any photos or videos of any of these allegations taking place? I know that for one of the women, the allegations took place in 2 places, you said, where there weren't cameras. But it sounds like for some of the women, took place in places where there are cameras, the blue bedroom.
Yeah, we do have evidence, although we're not sharing it at this point. We will probably later in the proceedings, but we do have evidence of some of the misconduct.
Okay, so the attorneys are claiming that there is evidence. Now, we don't know what they're considering evidence, how severe the evidence is, or how vague the evidence is. But they're claiming that they have evidence. They said that they have evidence.
I'm not going to comment, but we do have evidence.
Have you heard at all from Mr. Robinson himself? Has he responded to the complaint or any of the allegations?
No, we haven't.
Can you clarify the additional does, the 1 through 25, what that refers to?
That's just common practice. If more people come to light, it's just protecting the law.
In other words, Jane Doe's 1 through 25, despite there only being 4 Jane Does, is basically a whistleblow from the attorneys for other people to jump into the lawsuit and pile on to a class action situation. So they left a 25 persons window open as a wink to other women to come forth, etc.
In that regard, if we learn of other people that should be named.
I know that one of the women had worked as long as 2012. Do you believe this behavior has gone on since 2012, long before that? Or
we have reason to believe that this behavior has existed for many years. And I think giving the allegations, we're fairly confident that he's a serial assaulter.
So were any of these women allegedly threatened? Were they told, don't say anything or else? Were they threatened with physical harm?
They were threatened. I won't go into the details, but they were threatened in various methods by Mr. Robinson.
And in the complaint, there's also the allegation that they weren't paid fairly or properly, correct?
That's correct.
Can you touch on that?
Well, for example, all of them, most of them, I would say, maybe not all of them, they worked 60 hours a week. They never got paid overtime. They were chastised by Miss Robinson if they tried to eat, if they tried to take breaks. And that's part of the allegation. Just the employer-employee relationship. They violated, we have alleged, numerous labor laws.
Mr. Hayden, were they essentially held prisoner in your view?
I don't want to say they were held prisoner, but I do think that they were beholden to the employer-employee relationship with the Robinsons, which left them in a conundrum of what they should do if they want to maintain their livelihood.
And I might add, one of the allegations is false imprisonment. When he was committing these acts, they did not feel free to leave.
And we have on our camera. Could you restate what you're asking for in terms of monetary relief? What do you see?
Well, $50 million.
And how did you determine that amount?
It's just, we wanted to get his attention. It's a serious matter, and the assaults against these 4 women was horrendous and despicable. Hence, a big number.
And just to clarify, you're seeking $50 million total or
total, not each claim.
which of the allegations specifically against his wife? Like his name?
Yeah, Well, all the labor code violations are against her. I'm sorry. All the labor code violations are against her as well.
I think the intentional infliction of
And the
emotional
intentional
distress,
infliction of emotional distress.
hostile work environment as well.
And what can you say about what ultimately made your clients decide to quit and their ability to quit? Was that something they got pushback? Was there ever an NDA involved in any of this work?
I'm unaware of an NDA. They just finally had enough. They couldn't take it anymore. And they just collectively decided to quit.
So are you claiming that Mrs. Robinson, his wife, knew about what was going on?
Well, we believe that there was some knowledge of prior misconduct of a sexual nature against other individuals against him. And we're alleging that she was aware of that and she took no preventive action.
My God, I cannot believe that actually makes fucking sense to these attorneys. I actually cannot believe that they are asserting that. Because it's clear by the fact that she remained his damn wife that she chose not to believe these alleged prior allegations against him by other women outside of these Jane Does. And I am just literally confused about how Francis owed these women more than they owed themselves. First and foremost. I'm not even saying Francis should have took no action if she was actually aware, but they aren't even confident in being able to say she was aware. They are literally trying to find a way to make Francis liable in all of this by claiming that, well, for some reason, she should... The only preventative action Francis could have taken, simply based upon him being accused by other women in the past, would have been to leave him. Now, the question is, how the fuck would that have prevented him from doing what the fuck he did to these women? Because he could have did this as a single man. He could have did this as a bachelor. He could have did this as a married man. So what preventative measures could the wife have taken based upon prior allegations by other women that would have prevented him from doing what he is accused of doing to these maids? Make it make fucking sense. What the fuck is the correlation between other claims against him and what happened to these women? These women didn't even want to take corrective measures themselves. Nor... So now we can actually surmise that Francis did not know about these claims. These women did not personally confide in her, but yet she somehow was supposed to do something to correct what was happening.
Did any of them, as far as you know, come forward to
Girl,
his wife and say what was happening?
my brain can't deal with that shit.
We understand that perhaps there were situations where they were resolved informally, that she knew or should have known of the allegations being made.
So I think with that, we're going to close the...
Yes, please close the fuck out on that note. I want to pooch over. Hey, Queen of Topic, say boo, to another commentary that was provided by a host and a legal expert on law and order. Let me pull this up. How weak like. Hold on. And let you guys hear, because he's going to go into why sometimes accusers or victims lean more toward civil than criminal.
Obviously, as lawyers, you think you've seen it all, but this was quite disturbing reading through the sordid details in this complaint.
Absolutely. And, Smokey Robinson is a legendary singer, obviously for R&B, obviously for type of love music. But this is just, I can't emphasize enough how disturbing it is. And what do you kind of make of this pattern between Jane Doe 1, 2, 3, and 4? Smokey Robinson would allegedly shower, put a towel down, and allegedly raped 4 different women, all of whom worked on his staff, all of whom were 4 Hispanic women, all now going by Jane Doe. But what's your reaction to just this, what feels like and appears like abuse of power, but also sexual assault and rape?
Graphic details and very similar stories. Like you said, he would allegedly shower, he would come out, he put the towel down. Oftentimes these sexual assaults allegedly took place in parts of the home that didn't have cameras, when his wife was getting her nails done or otherwise out of the house. And you have individuals who, like you said, fall into the same category of, household help of a certain national origin and certain race, and you would take advantage of them, both in terms of being their employer, sexually assaulting them, groping them, even penetrating them. So really disturbing allegations. When you're handling these types of cases as a civil plaintiff's lawyer, which I am, and
you guys are running like, so please thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up.
Sometimes people that are abusers, they are usually not abusing just one person. So when you have individuals come forward that substantiate these allegations, it can make for a much more powerful case.
And it seems like there's power in numbers when it comes to this type of thing, especially when it comes to credibility and believability at that matter as well, too. And you brought up something interesting just about this pattern and that, this sometimes doesn't start with just one victim. Sometimes there's victims before that. And obviously these allegations, these are just alleged at this point. But I found something kind of interesting in reading through the complaint is that, the Jane Doe say that Smokey has done this before and he's settled with a number of other women, even prior to these 4 Jane Does. What do you make of just that little statement in the court filing?
So like you said, usually abusers have a type and they have an MO. And it doesn't matter whether you're Jeffrey Epstein, R. Kelly, and you tend to like underage victims, or you're a Harvey Weinstein or a Diddy, and you're sexually assaulting adults. Allegedly, of course. The fact that these allegations have been brought by not just these 4 women, but there's other previous claimants as well. Well, obviously the question is any of that evidence going to come in a civil lawsuit? Can they be subpoenaed to testify? Now, usually now under California law and federal law, you can't gag or have an NDA when you're talking about sexual assault. Those confidentiality agreements, they go out the window. So potentially, if there are some previous settlements, even if those settlements were confidential at the time, those victims may be able to testify in this case.
And there wasn't just one defendant named in the complaint. It was another defendant, too, that's pretty important to this story and to this case. And that's Smokey Robinson's own wife, who was named as one of the defendants. And for the most part, her allegations kind of stem from a hostile work environment. You made a point earlier that, we know that these alleged victims in this case, that they are Hispanic women, and that Frances allegedly would shout out ethnic slurs to her and just would scream at them as well, too. What do you just make of her alleged involvement in all of this?
Obviously, the most serious claims are the sexual assault and the rape claims, but there's other claims as well, employment claims, which can be serious. Obviously, in this case, they're less serious because of the graphic nature of the rape claims. But
my. It's a lot going on, y'all.
You have claims of a hostile work environment, sexual harassment, right? They're employees in the home, and they can't be groped, or they can't be discriminated against, or to deal with racial slurs. I mean, that's something.
I think that it's important in this day and age where we do have so many frivolous lawsuits and so many people making sensational claims against people just in being retaliatory or looking for a pay. I think it's important for attorneys to talk about both sides, not just the pro accuser side and how that works, and going into the mind and psychology of a so-called predator, blah, 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 but also speak legitimately to also the fact that, yes, people, there are such things as shakedowns, false claims and allegations of rape have been fueled and launched against people for various reasons, out of retaliation, out of bitterness, out of jadedness, out of trying to snuff out money, aka the Tony Busby Jane Doe case. I think it's important in this age now where we're seeing just as many illegitimate claims and lawsuits launched against people that it's important to talk about both sides of the pendulum, because it kind of biasly shapes the public's perception when we kind of master only in one part of the conversation and not equally to the other. And I think it's about time that we continue to just explore the psychology of people who are lying. We know that there are snake ass attorneys like Tony Busby who are slick, who literally, master allegedly in the arts of just bamboozling people out of their money, preying on public figures because of their wealth and the fragility of their image. Like, that shit is now very real. That's a very real phenomenon. And it no longer feels like we're doing the general public a service by only speaking from the victim, the accuser side of the coin, but talk also about the way that public figures are preyed upon, talk about the motives of people who weaponize these type of claims and suits against people, about the damage these type of claims can do, about the lack of protection in the courts against these type of claims, and how even if you are innocent, these type of claims alone can really wreak havoc through one's life and finances. It can destroy people's mental health. If a person is being victimized by false rape claims, there's literally historical context. We have so many cases against NBA players and athletes that were frivolous. We have claims against false claims against college students who lost their scholarships and took their lives over claims launched against them on campus that turned out to be false. Like, this stuff has been happening since the dawn of time. And so while there are genuine victims of assault, there are genuine cases of abuse of power, there are also genuine cases of those in power being preyed upon by the disempowered. I think that that's just a very, very important both side commentary that needs to be had in this day and age, because it's too much clownery now taking place in this age of social media, in this age of money grabs, and it's no longer just accusers who are alleging a predatory misconduct. We are now watching public figures very much so also be preyed upon. Shanquasia Sharpton against Usher. We have the Gloria Allreds. We have the Tyrone Blackburns. We have people literally, strategizing against this shit at top tier level.
And that's unlawful in any state, especially in the state of California. California tends to be very employee friendly in these types of claims, and both in terms of the protections and in terms of the jury verdicts here in California. They tend to protect employees here. We do employment work and we handle these types of cases all the time, and the jury verdicts can be pretty significant.
Yeah, and in your opinion, we see this always brought up, especially when it comes to us talking about, the Diddy lawsuits, and now we have this going on with Smokey Robinson. But a lot of people are always questioning, why not bring this up criminally?
Okay,
why
here we go.
The civil matter,
here we go,
civil
y'all.
route, excuse me. Some of these alleged incidents happened just last year, but in your opinion, what do you say to that?
As a former prosecutor, there are many times where I walk my client into the Los Angeles Police Department or the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department or the local police department. I've met with district attorneys, sex prosecutors, and the burden of proof in a criminal case is higher. Prosecutors sometimes like to take the easy wins. He said, she said type cases can be challenging to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, again, if you have multiple victims, that makes it easy. And frankly, Elizabeth, up until November, we had a district attorney in Los Angeles, George Gascon, who was perceived as being soft on crime and not prosecuting a lot of these cases. Now we have a new district attorney, Nathan Hochman, who's been more aggressive. We've seen it with cases like the Menendez brothers, for instance. He's taken a very different position. So sometimes the criminal case is outside of your hands as a victim's attorney. Believe me, there's many times where I want the case to be prosecuted and prosecutors just don't pick it up because they don't want to take challenging cases. And if you look at the statistics, when it comes to rape cases that are actually pursued, the criminal judgment or even some sort of plea agreement, it's less than 10% because victims often don't come forward, or when they do, they're disbelieved. Law enforcement doesn't want to investigate. Maybe the claims are dated. Maybe a civil lawsuit's been filed and they think that this is all about money when it isn't. The victim just wants to get some sort of justice, even if it's civil justice, because
hey, high mental abilities. We already know that. I clearly just laid out an entire dissertation about how it's both sided, but it's both sided. Both parties are victimized. Tell the truth and talk about it from a both-sided context, especially since there are so many consistent lawsuits now that have been launched over the last few decades against innocent parties. It's no longer now a conversation that can solely be had from the accuser's perspective. We have to talk about the powerful being preyed upon, because that's a real thing and it's been happening, and it don't pick up as much conversation, but over here we're going to definitely be picking it up. I'm going to continue to highlight these cases and these instances and be very hard on these attorneys in this age where now the clout chasers are just as bad as the fucking attorneys who are also seeking to prey upon people's reputation and wealth. And the Jay-Z case is just one of the most recent of low-down legal shakedowns that have happened just in the last 90 fucking days. You know, and this is very dangerous shit when you can't even trust attorneys, people who are public servants, public defenders. People are supposed to operate by a code of transparency and honesty and integrity. You know, these implications are very disturbing. And we got to see with the Jane Doe case and Jay-Z's case how vulnerable the actual victim in this case is, which is the person being accused. How there's hardly times no criminal or civil penalty that can come against accusers who falsify these type of claims against people. I think that's very fucking unfair. I think that if you lie against someone and you make a level of claim against them that is heinous in nature, that is unsubstantiated, that is false, that your ass should be sued by default, and that there should be criminal charges afforded to people who waste taxpayers' dollars and who prey upon people's good fucking name because they don't have anything else better to do. This shit is wrong. The fact that in this same system, while in the court of law, you may be so-called innocent until proven guilty, but in a court of public opinion, where your coin is, where your family is, where your wife is, where your job is, you are considered guilty until proven innocent and therefore must suffer immediately until a verdict is rendered. And even when one is rendered, sometimes is not recoverable. The damages lost to your mental health, lost to your career, etc., are done. And I am not willing to allow the narrative to only be in support of the accuser. I'm not. It's fucked up, and the courts are fucked up for allowing this shit to be a shit show in this fucking way. That Jane Doe case should have been over long before it ever got fucking started, because the evidence was always in place for the exoneration of both Diddy and Jay-Z in that case. And then the fact that in states like New York City, by law, a accuser can accuse someone of this type of a claim along with their attorney, and there be no reproach, because these claims are considered by nature to be a matter of public safety. So you can't even really get the attorney on defamation. You got to find other shit like Jay-Z is. That's why Jay-Z going through what he going through in his attempt to sue Tony Busby, where it's certain things that Jay-Z, despite being the victim in his case, can't even hold Tony Busby nor Jane Doe accountable for. That's fucked up. That is fucked up. It is literally unfair. And that claim is no longer a matter of public safety when it's now been confirmed that it's a lie. The actual public concern is the bitch lying. That's a dangerous, these are dangerous people. The now public threat is the fucking attorney who can just go any, mini, mighty, mo on any famous person, wealthy person's name and play these type of harani ass hoe games on people's head tops. Because they know there's less likelihood of them being held accountable because of the way, once again, the courts protect the accuser, right, wrong, or indifferent, while leaving the actual victim in shambles and to just fend for themselves in the aftermath of this type of grotesque slander. And let me tell y'all something. The sad part about where this type of shit is going is we're going to see a momentum pick up behind these type of claims, because we're going through a recession. Y'all see what Donald Trump is doing at an executive level, girl, when it comes to veterans, when it comes to the elderly, when it comes to children. He's going to put the country in a massive deficit. There's going to be a larger pool of the underclass. This is going to create a very strong line of demarcation between the haves and the have-nots. And when people have to fend for their food, fend for their housing, fend for their livelihood, the more criminal misconduct is going to take place. And so while we're going to see a pickup in criminality and robbery and burglary and fraud, we're also going to see people trying to legally go about taking advantage of people as well in the name of survival. I think we're going to see a lot of lawsuits levered against public figures and famous people, especially in the era of a broke-ass America. People are going to be doing what they have to do to get paid, bitch. And they done used you already, ran through you already, girl. They gonna get your ass on the back end for all that they can, even if no crime has been committed. And that's why on this channel, because I can't speak for no other lopsided ass content creator, we're just going to go case by case in these things. I'm not going to be using these broad strokes when it comes to these cases. I'm not going to, I don't care if the next person accused is a man. I'm not about to do the whole well, it's a man, and we're going to rely on statistics. No, what the fuck we're going to do is rely on each individual case and the evidence or lack thereof and the strong arguments and lack thereof. And it's going to be on a case by case by case by case. Not going to be talking about statistics and all of that shit when it comes to these civil suits against people for, as it relates to these type of allegations. The bad apples done spoiled it for everybody now, which is a good thing, because now it just shows us that we need to be case by casing this thing. We cannot afford to make broad strokes and come to any assumptions about what is true and not true, but just have to actually follow the evidence, just like the courts do. It's funny how people have tried to convince the public that they need to believe accusers, but even the courts don't fucking per se believe accusers. They have to prove their plight as well. And they should have to do that in a court of public opinion as well. An accusation is simply a fucking accusation. All claims should be thoroughly investigated, thoroughly combed through in order to be substantiated or illegitimized. But when it comes to playing with people's life, that should not be able to happen just by pure assumption and feeling. Due process is entitled.
Control the civil case where they can't the criminal.
And how kind of tough is it, especially for, alleged victims in this case being Jane Doe 1, 2, 3, and 4, to go up against a powerful figure and a powerful celebrity? Obviously, we've seen this in Diddy's case, but, in Smokey Robinson's case, it kind of weighs the same a little bit here, where we have a legendary singer. He's beloved by so many people. He's been singing for decades. I feel like a lot of people are always inclined to take the celebrity's point of view as opposed to what he allegedly subjected to his victims to, and that were kind of mapped out in this complaint. And I'm kind of like catching the press conference going on right now where, the Jane Does, they're appearing in what looks like a wig and sunglasses and a mask because they're so frightful of having their names brought up, having their real names brought up, or even just showing any glimpse of what their identity is. But then you have, also the power in numbers that it's 4 different women as opposed to, Diddy's suits where, they were filed one by one and not jointly. But what's your reaction to just going against a powerful figure like Smokey Robinson?
Elizabeth, it's a tale as old as time. Rich and powerful man takes advantage of that disparity in power and sexually assaults or otherwise abuses a younger woman. And oftentimes those women are not believed. I can guarantee you in the comments below on Law and Crime, there's going to be people saying that this is a shakedown, this is extortion, this is a money grab, maybe even horrific racial slurs or degrading slurs about these women. I don't know them. I'm not representing them. I don't know Smokey Robinson or his wife. The allegations may not be true, but people are quick to defend celebrities. Celebrities do very well in this country when it comes to civil and criminal cases because jurors and members of the public love them. They can't think that their favorite celebrity, their favorite artist can be involved in rape. Well, as someone that represents victims and I've sued, so many people in the music industry, I can tell you that it happens and it happens quite frequently, whether it's Kanye.
People do well because your celebrities do well because somebody said in the chat, y'all attorneys are lazy as fuck. Y'all don't want to do the work to have to really prove the plight in a criminal case. And that's really why these attorneys scurry away from a criminal and go civil, because the burden of proof is a lot lighter. It is less of a workload. And it really is more argument driven in these civil cases than it is in criminal, where you got to really produce the meat and the fucking potatoes. You got to really produce the meat and the potatoes. And these lawyers don't want to take that fucking L because they know these cases be too softball, which is why they're hardly even picked up by the DA to begin with. Too softball. So they rely on the civil because it's easier to fucking foremost get to a favorable outcome without even having to go through trial, even civilly. A lot of them are expecting, to settle out of court, are expecting to settle in mediation. It's just easier. So to that commenter's point, yes, lawyers are lazy as fuck, and they're being lazy, which is why they oftentimes would take the civil route rather than the criminal. The burden of proof is a lot less hardcore and strenuous civilly than it is criminally. So that's all I got for y'all, girl. This shit is nuts. We're going to be keeping up with any updates. We're going to follow the case out. We got Diddy coverage also coming starting on Monday. Thanks to Uda on the go, y'all. He will be giving Loud, Live, and in Color coverage and updates. He's going to be down there to the courthouse. He's already been down there all week for the preliminary stuff. You guys know the actual trial begins on Monday, girl. They're going to be making their arguments and rolling this thing out. The trial is expected to go on for months, so this isn't something that's looked to be concluding within days or a week, so it's no telling how long this is going to play out, but they already have, a window of at least a few months, so it's going to be a long summer for Diddy, girl. A literal hot boy summer. Tell me what you guys think about these claims against Smokey Robinson. Of course, anything is possible. These are allegations. These things are either true or not true. Smokey and his wife, Frances, will have the opportunity in this litigation to respond and to defend their innocence. So, yeah, I'll be keeping you guys up. The attorneys did say that they do have evidence. The attorney also made an interesting statement around that evidence. He said, we may present that. I was like, may, like, what do you mean that evidence might show up? It might come out in this litigation. So it is given that they are expecting to settle. They are expecting to settle. They are expecting this thing not to hit the fan. They are expecting a 85-year-old Smokey Robinson to pretty much be too tired, too withered, to want to endure this thing through and through. And because of those factors, Smokey may in fact settle. So we're going to see, man. We are going to see you guys. Okay, so Uda is actually at the court right now. Hold on, let me see. Uda texting me right now. I'm at the court. I got a convo with a guy from Puff Team. I'm going to send it to you. Okay, cool. All right, y'all. I may have some updates actually today. The hell with Monday, honey. Y'all may get some uploads on today regarding the Diddy case. My computer's dying. I got to get out of here. I'll be back in a little bit. If you guys enjoyed yourself, you guys should run those likes up, please. Share. I've been gone for a minute. Now we bike, honey. Okay, so we got to get the blood pumping out here in these streets. If you enjoyed yourself, definitely show some love to the Cash App, $ Consciouztv, and or paypal.me/Consciouztv, spelled just how it is here. All stories, anything you want me to cover, anything that adds to the continuity of the stories we're already covering, email it to me at consciouztv@gmail.com and or DM me at consciouztv on Instagram, and I will see you all later. Peace.